Greetings, everyone. Incorporated in September 2018, Nexcharge is a solutions provider for customized energy storage solutions that cater to the transportation as well as industry and utility sectors. Nexcharge is a brand of Exide Leclanche Energy Private Limited, a joint venture between India's largest lead-acid storage battery manufacturers, Exide Industries, and one of the leading lithium-ion battery manufacturers based in Switzerland, Leclanche. The company aims to become the leading supplier of e-transport solutions that will power the electrification of transport in the form of efficient and reliable energy storage solutions. The company operates what is India's largest factory equipped with fully automated assembly lines of lithium-ion battery packs, modules, and cell testing labs at Prantij in Gujarat. To speak more about Nexcharge, its vision and solutions for the Indian market, we have with us Mr. Stefan, CEO and CTO of Nexcharge. Stefan holds an MSc in electronics and has devoted his career to helping customers with the best available energy storage, conversion, and management solutions in a B2B environment. In his previous executive positions, he has built international experience in the transport, utility, and industrial battery markets. Stefan, welcome to Mobility Outlook. It's a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you, Dipanshu. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Stefan, let's begin by understanding your views on the current EV market in the country, and also how do you weigh the opportunities for Nexcharge in the coming times?
Right. So, obviously, there's some similarities between India and the rest of the world, but also some major differences, and that makes it very interesting. The similarities, I would say, is that charging infrastructure is a typical chicken and egg problem. But thanks to the fact that two-wheelers and also three-wheelers are a very important means of transportation in India, I believe India will grow much faster in its electric vehicle, mode of transportation, because the chicken and egg problem is a lot smaller here. Because with a two-wheeler and to some extent also with a three-wheeler, you can take the battery out of the vehicle and take it to where you have to go. You can walk with it and you can charge it. So that takes away a lot of the stress of charging the vehicle. Vehicle OEMs need to figure out how they can best address that. On one hand, they of course would like to capture the revenue of vehicle and battery and perhaps even build it fixed on board of the vehicle. On the other hand, you have to have a customer-centric view, because those products will of course sell best. So they have to balance that a little bit. I don't think anyone really knows where it's going to go, this whole debate of a fixed battery, removable battery, swappable battery, or public swapping and all that. Who knows where it's going to go? I'm probably, given the somewhat fragmented market that you have in a big country like India, you're going to see that all of the above solutions, I would say, are going to take a piece of the cake.
Okay.
Coming to passenger vehicle, that's where we're going to have to wait a little bit for the charging infrastructure to come up, which is a very daunting business case, to be honest, and the government will need to support, and I think they're doing that significantly to really get those investors eager to invest into a business which could take several years before it pays back.
Okay.
In terms of Nexcharge, the second part of your question, I think we're very well placed because we have built a factory and spent a lot of money in the process, more than 250 crores, to build this plant, which builds lithium-ion battery packs at a global quality level and a global technology level, I would say. And the customers that have visited us, and there's quite a few of them, almost every day we have customers visiting our plant and other interested parties. They say that they've never seen something like this, whether it's in India or even some have said that even outside of India, I've never seen something like this. So Yeah, we've managed to build a state-of-the-art facility that is built to scale.
Okay.
I think that is very important to be able to be competitive also globally. I mean, in this globalized world, we have to be competitive, and I believe Nexcharge can do exactly that.
Okay. Okay. So, Stefan, how is Nexcharge dealing with the most critical challenges of the EV ecosystem, particularly from an energy storage perspective?
Well, I think I'll partially address the charging infrastructure challenges. Other challenges, I would say, are supply chain. That is definitely a challenge, and
right.
But that is just a matter of time, I think. Automatically, I mean, the people of India are very good, as I've observed, in doing business. They're very business oriented. So I think as markets emerge and become significantly interesting and justify building up a manufacturing capability, then multiple people will get into that. And then it's a matter of getting the technology, I would say. Lots of smart people in India. So I'm pretty sure those problems will resolve themselves. There are a couple of products, components that we use today that are not available in India, but I'm sure that they will become available soon.
Stefan, I mean, in your first answer, you also mentioned your focus on, of course, the 2 and 3-wheeler segment, the passenger vehicle segment, as well as the CV segment. In the Indian context, how do you see this evolving for your business? What do you think is going to come faster to the market?
Yeah, certainly 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers can come very quickly. I mean, there's a couple of ways to look at it. First of all, the total cost of ownership is obviously the logical way to look at any technology. If a new technology is more cost friendly, then it will automatically win. I think the electric vehicle has already won. It's just a matter of deployment now and installation. I would say 3-wheeler will even be easier because see, what I've learned is that any market where a fuel is burned to create energy, and that is done, let's say, on a small scale, like an engine, that's the best place to electrify, because that's where energy essentially is the most expensive. We have seen business cases on ships, in vehicles, wherever you're basically burning fuel is a very good case for electrification.
All right. From a technology standpoint, Stefan, I mean, of course, you wear 2 hats of the CEO as well as the CTO. Now, what unique solutions are Nexcharge really bringing to the market? What are some of the key differentiators that the company can introduce to the Indian market?
Yes, thank you for that question. That's a very nice one to answer. It's also a long one to answer if I would go into all the details, but let me first start by saying the main themes that we work around are, I would say, first of all, the temperature of the climate. The climate, I would summarize. It's not just temperature, also humidity. And secondly, the safety of batteries.
Okay.
So starting with the first one, if you just look at a 2-wheeler battery, a lot of people, and I would say most of the 99% of the batteries that you see in the world today, they have a box, for a 2-wheeler battery, and inside of that box there's a number of cells. And those cells warm up due to their usage, and that heat is in addition to the environmental heat.
Sure.
Now, if the environment is already at 45 degrees or warmer, then any heat that you create in addition to that in the cells is causing the lifetime of the battery to reduce significantly, and that's a problem. So we've done a lot of research on how can we optimize that, and we're not alone. Several companies have done that, but we have come up with some unique technology whereby the heat doesn't stay in the cell but is conducted outside of the battery.
Okay.
It's basically a combination of a couple of technologies that we've combined. We believe it is highly unique. I can't speak too much about it because it's also being patented. So that's a very important one for two-wheelers and perhaps also three-wheelers. If you then look at the larger battery packs, but we could do this for any battery pack, and we're implementing that as well. I'm moving to safety now. So there has been a very interesting shift in how legislators and certification bodies look at the safety of a battery pack. In the past, it was considered that if the components that you put inside of a battery are safe, then the battery should be safe and the vehicle should be safe. What they have found, and that's a good approach, because you look at the root cause of the risk, let's say. But they found that is slowing down innovation, because it is very difficult to pack a lot of energy into a central place, into a small space, and make that super safe under all conditions. And that's not different from a petrol tank. I mean, if you do the wrong thing with a petrol tank, it also goes boom.
Sure.
So that is not very different with batteries. So then they changed their view and they said, actually, it's not about the petrol tank or the battery. It's about the passengers. It's about the driver of the vehicle. We need to think about their safety. Forget what is around them. The around them basically is to offer that safety. So that is a fundamental change in the view of the certification and standards specialists. They said, listen, if something goes wrong with a battery, which could happen occasionally, then you need to be able to inform the driver of the vehicle and give him sufficient time to stop the vehicle, evacuate the vehicle. If it's a larger vehicle, evacuate the passengers. And once that time has elapsed, then and only then, if a thermal event can no longer be contained, that's very bad news, but so be it. And we really like that approach. It makes a lot of sense, and it releases the pressure from innovation somewhat, and it is also logical. In fact, I believe batteries are a lot safer than fuel, because if something goes wrong with the fuel, it goes very quickly very wrong. In milliseconds, you can be from absolutely safe to very, very dangerous if it catches fire. A battery somehow already has some sort of an inbuilt timer. It starts by warming up, then you notice something funny with the behavior of the vehicle. It doesn't accelerate as you were expecting to. That's because the drivetrain is derating the power that is consumed. Then perhaps, if you stop the vehicle to say, what's going on, let me check, you'll see some smoke. Oh, that's weird. Smoke is not normal. Where there is smoke, there is fire, that kind of thing. And so you already get a lot of head warning from a battery. But still, by implementing some very new algorithms in our software of our BMS, and by implementing very specific sensors inside of the battery pack, we can detect a thermal event well before it happens. And depending on the chemistry, the time changes a little bit. But with all the chemistries that we've tested so far, our technology is better than the minimum requirement of the legislation, which is 5 minutes. So we are, with the worst, let's say, in the worst case, we're around 8 minutes, and we can go up to 30 minutes. So 30 minutes head warning. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more than enough to say, okay, I have a dashboard that says I need to stop and evacuate the vehicle. I'll park it in a safe place. I'll get everyone out of the vehicle, and then let's see what happens. I even have time to call, assistance if required. So those are the technologies that we've worked on for our larger battery packs, because the more energy you pack into a pack, the bigger the risk. So we started there, but I'm expecting to move these technologies also into our, as small as our two-wheelers.
Okay. Okay.
I think those are the two main ones in terms of thermal management and in terms of safety.
Safety. All right. So, Stefan, now how much of these innovations or this engineering work that is happening at Nexcharge is being done locally in India? And if you have to talk about the future, what is the level of technology sort of integration engineering work that you intend to undertake in the Indian operations?
Everything that I've just explained you has been developed from scratch in India.
Okay.
We have two R&D centers in Bangalore, where we have around 60 people from all different trades, whether it's mechanical, thermal, electrical, electronics, software. All those talents come together in our R&D center.
Okay.
And that's where we've developed these technologies.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of indigenization, Stefan, I mean, you did talk about certain supply side challenges, but in the current context, what is the level of indigenization and what is the target that you have at Nexcharge?
Unfortunately, it is still relatively low at the pack level, because the cell, of course, remains imported at this point in time, and that is at least 60% of the value. Now, our majority shareholder, Exide, does have plans, as you've heard, to get into cell manufacturing as well.
Yeah,
that is an Exide, exercise that they're doing that is not immediately related to Nexcharge. Nexcharge is a module and pack company, and obviously, being in the lithium-ion battery business, we know a few things about cells as well. But of course, when the cell is manufactured locally, you'll see a dramatic increase in the localization content. I have a very clear strategy in the organization that we have to localize to the maximum. It makes sense, of course. It makes life easier. It makes lead time shorter. It makes inventory costs lower. And, well, it is also driven, of course, by political culture. It makes sense, and it's not just in India. You see it all across the world. Everywhere in the world, you see more and more, approaches where they say, vehicles should be, or batteries or whatever it is, should be manufactured in the country of application, and not somewhere on the other side of the world. So that is good in the case of India, because it's a very large country.
Right, right. So, Stefan, one question about your Gujarat plant. What is the production capacity at the plant, and what are your utilization levels currently?
So we have a fairly large plant. As I mentioned, I think scale is very important in the lithium-ion battery business. We have to go big. So we've built a plant with a production capacity of around 1.5 gigawatt hour. Our largest line is the one that makes batteries for two-wheelers. It can handle 4,500 cells per hour. So this is very impressive. In less than a second, we process a cell and put it into a battery pack. So it's definitely worth taking a look at that. We have 6 production lines because we can make battery packs with pouch cells, with prismatic cells, with cylindrical cells. We can make them into low voltage battery packs on a conveyor. We can make them into high voltage battery packs on these small automatically guided vehicles that run around in the factory from station to station. So, and then of course we have what we call a finished goods line that tests all of our battery packs for hours. Currently we're doing 100% testing, and as soon as the quality standards show that we can go to, what do you call it, more batch testing or sample testing, we can do that according to the standard, what the standards tell us. So that's the 6 production lines. It's 1.5 gigawatt hour capacity.
Okay.
Utilization today is of course still quite low, because the market is still very much growing, and we've taken longer than planned, of course, with this whole pandemic to build the factory. I would say at the end of last year, calendar year, our factory was ready, and now we're ramping up production as quickly as we can.
Okay.
One of our lines is already, fully used for one shift, and we're now installing a second shift. So that's great news. That's mainly for three-wheelers and buses.
Mm-hmm.
And electric buses, they take quite a bit of energy storage. So as soon as you get a bit of a tender, if you win a tender, then immediately, of course, that volume will go up. What I do notice is that it's very much a stop and go kind of thing where we are in now. We are very busy, and then suddenly it stops again because we've supplied one tender or two tenders or something. So it's still stop and go, which I think is normal, and will take maybe a couple of years before we are really at a much more continuous way of working, which will be much more pleasant for any company in our business. But that's normal, I think, for this stage. So occupation is quite low today. I can't really put a number to it, but it's less than 50%, which is normal if you build a big plant that is supposed to last for a few years.
Sure, Stefan. One very critical aspect which I wanted to sort of check with you is, battery manufacturing, or particularly lithium-ion battery technology and manufacturing in the country is still at a very nascent stage. Have you faced any kind of concerns or challenges with the quality of employable resources in the country? How are you really looking at building that within Nexcharge?
Yeah, it is just a lot of effort, I would say. Yes, this is a global problem once again, and certainly in India, it takes time for people to be well trained and capable in our business. So we have several programs, and there's a couple of organizations around us like ISA that are really helpful in helping the companies in our sector to gain knowledge quicker. We've also set up a program to retain knowledge as much as possible, so that when people newly join, that they can very quickly go on the learning curve. I mean, we are a fast-growing organization. People join every week, and it is very important to get them to a certain level of efficiency as quickly as possible. So, very good knowledge retention in a structured way is important for us. So, documentation of knowledge is important to us, and it's a lot of effort to do that, and we've done a number of initiatives. We've set up an internal, what we call Nexcharge University, where there's a lot of videos and other resources to improve your own knowledge. We also have a training budget. So all of our employees have access to a budget to train themselves, whether that is internally or externally, doesn't matter. You would maybe ask, why do you have a budget for internal trainings? It is because within that budget, they have to use it as a what I like to say as a good house father. When you're following a training, you have to account not only the money that you spend, but also the time that you spend. So all of that goes also into the budget, because whatever time you use into a training is time lost that you can't do for something else. So we try to sensibilize people that way. Okay.
Very interesting, Stefan. My final question to you today is, how do you view the push coming from the government in India, particularly with the PLI scheme for ACC batteries? How do you see Nexcharge benefiting from such initiatives?
Yeah, certainly. I think the government is doing an excellent job with a very balanced approach, both push and pull, if you like, or demand creation as well as manufacturing support with the PLI schemes. All of this is great. There is I don't see any PLI as such that would help Nexcharge. There are PLIs for the auto industry and for cell manufacturing, but not for battery pack manufacturing. I'm not aware of one. If there is, please tell me. But the demand creation, of course, is very helpful and it is significant. Some of the states which add to the countrywide support are really doing, are really making the battery very accessible, almost to the extent that when you buy a two-wheeler, you're basically not paying for your battery. You're getting the battery from the government almost. And the vehicle itself is often cheaper than a petrol vehicle, of course, because it's simpler. So I'm very impressed with that. If you would ask me what else can the government do to further accelerate it, I would say they're already having all of the systems in place. As I said, the push and the pull. But of course, if you look at it from a global scale, I guess that there's countries that have been able to invest more. But I think if India does what it can, then that's fantastic. And I think that's where we are.
Excellent. Stefan, thank you so much for speaking to Mobility Outlook today. It was an absolute pleasure having you on our show. Thank you.
All right. It was a pleasure as all mine. Thank you, Dipanshu, for the chance.
Thank you.